Okay, let us put this on full screen and still working, continue working. Instead of putting input border none, let's try to do outline and see how it comes off. Okay, I like outline more, so we'll just leave it like that. Just copy this line here and come over here to post body and boom, paste it. So guys, here we have the post, the add post, the basic structure. Now let us start working with the back end of it. So first of all, let us create another directory or package as they are called here, and we are going to call, and from this part onwards is super important. Let's create a package and we're going to call this models. Okay, and let's create another one called db for database, and here let us open models. No, let's create a new file inside of models and going to call this post. Let me put that on full screen now. And here we are basically defining the structure that our post is going to have. Class post. We will need a string date. We'll need, let me even do it. We need a final string date. We need a final string called key. We need a final string called title, and lastly we're going to need a final string body or body depending on your accent. Anyways, just hit command N constructor and select all of this. Boom. So this is going to be the basic structure of our posts inside of our database. We are going to need the date, the key, the title, and the body. So what are we going to do here? It's simple. Then let's create another named constructor now. Post dot from snapshot, and it's going to take what? Data snapshot. Okay, I was almost forgetting to do something super important, which is some packages. We need to add some packages. Flutter Fire. Just click on that, Flutter Fire plugin for Flutter. We need to add this. data snapshot, snap, and of course we don't have this data snapshot now because we need to add some plugins here. What do we need now? Cloud functions, Firestore, not Firebase database. You just go to installing, you copy this, and you go to our pubspec file, and now here we paste that. Packages get. While we get the package, another dependency we may need to use here is what we may use this firebase core, firebase auth, but not on this particular project, so I don't know if I add them now or what. I think I will leave them to add them afterwards. And we still have a small error here. Just a second. All we need to do here is we need to import the Firebase database package. Okay. And now what we need here, and as a matter of fact, let me do something. We will define this as private variables. That's a good practice, so rather start doing that now so that classes outside of this can't change the values of this. So you just have to add this underscore in front of it, and it's a private. String key. That's not the correct order. So here's the fun thing. We now can have access to this private key using this public key. That's super good to do. It's a very good practice to maintain the private variables of a class private and access them using getters. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. Now, something else that we may need to do to define this model or this class is going to help us deal with our database is maybe making use of some static constant key is equal to key. Let's copy this, and here date is equal to date, and here title is going to be equal to title, and finally the body of the post is going to be equal to body. Okay, so let us do something now, which is this point key is going to be equal to our snapshot dot key. And what else can we do is this dot body is going to be equal to snap dot value body here we have this dot date. So you have to kind of do the same thing here. Let me just copy this, paste it and paste it. Oops. What else do we have here is date. I'm sorry. Date here is going to be equal to date because we define the constants with these variables with these values. And lastly we have title. So guys, what do we have here? Let me just take a second to explain you what's going on, because there's a lot going on. Here we define some constants: key, date, title, and body, so that we don't, let's suppose we change the name of one of these or on the database. Instead of coming, let's suppose we change body to bodies. If we were to write this manually and we use many named constructors where we give reference to this body, we would have to go to each one of them and edit them. While when you have them all here, if I want to change the date to dates, I just have to write dates, and everywhere where I'm using the date constant, that would change. Then we have some string variables here defined as private variables, and we need them on this constructor. And then we're using getters to get the values of the keys, date, title, and body. And then we have a named constructor. So the difference mainly is when you call the class, this default constructor is going to be called, must be called, and you have to specify when you want to have a call to the named constructor. And now I'm sorry again, just to finish this, we may need another class called toMap, or toMap or toJSON, depending on how you want to call it, but it's basically the same thing. And from here we're going to return the map. We may just have here body, is equal to body, and title is equal to title, and finally date is equal to date. So guys, here I did something wrong, which is this. We don't define the key as a constructor because the key is going to be generated automatically. There's no need for doing this. Okay. We have the body, the title, and the date. And we can just write here map if you want to, just to make sure that we're going to return the map. So from snapshot, when we get some values from the database, we are going to convert the values we're getting from the database, and we are going to insert or assign those values to these variables of this class. If we will get the date from the database, and we're going to assign the value of that date to this variable date here, and then we will be able to access that from our Flutter app. Now, when we have a single object and we want to insert that to the database, we are going to convert the format of that object, the body, the title, and the date of the object. We are going to convert that. Okay? We are going to convert that. Let me comment this for now. That's a super good practice, but to make things easier, you we can just use the variables as public. Okay. I'm trying to find a command to rename the variable. Okay, I found it. F6. Shift F6 is the command to rename the variable. So now I'm just turning all these variables public. I just wanted to show that you can use that. You can use getters to do that. But now, for simplicity, let's just stick with this. Okay, so we have the structure of our constructor here done. Okay. Oh, this is done. Let's go to the next task, which is adding the posts to our database. I have this DB here, and it's a good practice to separate the views of your app to the backend functions of the app. But are we going to go with the good approach? Okay, yes, of course, let's do that. Because sometimes for simplicity, and when I'm doing videos, I just write everything in a single file, but most of the time that's not how you're supposed to write your apps. Let's add app, and we're going to call this post service. Okay, what are we going to do with this class? Let me zoom it. Oops, not that much. Post service. First of all, we can define a string called ref, reference, which is the database node name depends on how you want to call it, and for us it's going to be posts. Okay, so let's create a small method here to add our posts, and to make that possible we will need to import package firebase database in here. Okay, so now we will need to how are we going to do this? Let me create a method, add post. Okay, and even before I do that, firebase database is equal to firebase database dot instance. So our firebase database here is going to be equal to a small what's probably small, an instance of our database. So our firebase reference, that's what we want to define now. Or database reference, we can have here database reference is equal to our database dot reference dot child, and in here node name. And we have a problem here. Only static members can be assigned with initializers, blah 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 blah. Okay, there's two ways to go about doing this. You just have to define this as static. And what is it saying? Okay, easy thing to do is, let's remove this for now. You close it here, and let's not define this as static for now. Add post. Let us work with this. And here now we can do database reference is equal to this. The problem is solved. Okay, so we have here that our database reference is going to be equal. Let's try to explain what's going on. We created a firebase database. Database is going to be equal to our instance of our firebase database, and our firebase and our database reference is going to refer to the firebase instance we defined, and the child node, or what we want on the database, is the posts. Okay, let me add a comment. This is going to give a reference to the posts node. Okay, now with this done, there's something else we may need to do here, which is database reference dot, oh, we have the child all set, and the value here we may need to post because we want to add a value of the type post. So to make this possible, let's import the post package, because what we want to add to the database is post. So the argument of the add post method is going to take a value of type post. Okay, so in here you want post to map. Okay, again, let me take a second to explain you what's happening here. We have the post service, and this is explained, add post. We have the database reference, which is going to be equal to the posts node, because we define the node name as post. And we have here the child we're referring to is the post. And then what we're doing is the database reference push set post.toMap. And in easy language, or finding an easier way to explain this, what we're doing here is we are inserting this value of post.toMap. And if you go back, we have this method here. We are defining the body, the title, and the date inside of the database. Okay, and we are doing that. Where is the function here? And we are doing that here to map. This is going to return a map, and we're inserting that map inside of the database. Okay, so let's try to have some stuff working. Maybe like that we will be able to understand something. Let's go back to the post, not this one, but the add post here. And let's make this equal to new global key. That's how you can define this final. Oops. So what do we have to do now? We have to first of all create an object of type post, because posts is what we want. Just click on this and add this package. Oh, now I am seeing that it would be better for me to create this stateful widget, but that's not a big deal. Let's copy this until here, and let's create add post as a stateful widget, and I'll explain you why we have to do this. STF add post. And again, I don't really enjoy as well writing a lot of code without being able to test, but in this particular case we don't really have a go. We have to do it like this. Now we have to do a stateful widget because we want to set initial state in here. Go to override methods, initial state, and I don't like to have this at the bottom, so I'll bring it here. So inside of the initial state, we'll set that post is equal to this. Why is my initial state like this? Let me try to create it again. Whatever, let's create it at the bottom. Undefined name post. Oh. There's a small problem here. These two variables are not supposed to be inside of the build, but have to be visible here on the class level, and that was the issue. So we can set our initial state here. Posts is going to be equal to post nothing for now. Okay, so let's start working with our file in here. And how are we going to go about doing this is, let's come here to our title and write onsaved val, and basically here we're defining when we save the form, what are we supposed to do. Then post dot title is going to be equal to val. Boom. This can be set up because it's a final. That's easy to fix. These variables don't really need to be finals, you just use string. So here we are setting the title of the post equal to the post title. That's why onsaved post title is equal to val. Okay, and post body, you just have to come in here as well and write onsaved when we save the form val. Then we have here post dot body is equal to val. So we are assigning this value to the post dot body when the form is saved. Now when we press this, let us just call a method called submit, or we can just insert post, for example. Let's create this method now. And this method is going to define how we're going to handle our posts. Okay, and now the very first thing that we may need to do is creating a final variable form state, which is going to check the state of our form. let's call it form, and it's going to be equal to what? The form key. We have we gave the key of our form. We defined this current state. So this is going to check what's the state of our form. Is it saved? Is it just checking what's going on with the form, basically making it simple. If form dot validate, meaning if our form is validated or if the form is valid, first we want to do form save, which is going to define our unsaved behavior, and we're going to do a form dot set. We're going to empty anything that is inside of the form, and let us now call or create another variable called post service, which is going to be post service, and we would have to import this file, and now let's do this post service variable dot add post, and this is all that we have to do. Going back now, what's happening is, if our form is valid, if the value of here is not empty and the value of here is not empty as well, means that the form is valid. If the form is validated, we want to save the form, and here we have unsaved, meaning when the form is saved, post.title is going to be equal val, and post.body is going to be equal val as well. Now let's do something else, which is a post dot date is equal date now, and we have a small error here because this is going to return okay, we can do this using specific method. Okay, let me do this. To string. Okay, seems like there's a lot going on. We have date time now, milliseconds since epoch. That's a form. It's going to return milliseconds basically to string, and we want to assign this to our date. Or what we can do, because there's no need of using string here to do this, is coming over to our post where we have the date. Instead of string we can use int. Okay, and we may need to change something. Here on our add post. Here. Okay, now the date is going to be saved. sorry, as an integer. So is it the right time for us to test the app? Let's see if this is working, because we do have a lot of things going on here. Anyways, I will run the app again just to make sure everything is up and running. So we'll click here. Click. Let's just try to hit add without inserting nothing and see what happens. You see the title field can be empty and the body fields can be empty, but both sides I wrote title here. It's supposed to be body. And here for the title, let's insert something like fun time. And if I hit add, again we'll have that the body title can be empty, the body field can be empty. And I'll write like today I had a fun time with my friends. Add. Okay, and this was saved. In fact, let's just see if it did work. Let's open our database. Boom, boom, boom. Wow, what is happening here? What is happening in here? For whatever reason, our database was not created. That's strange. Let me reload here. Hello guys. So the app was not working as it was supposed to, so I took some time off and tried to analyze where the mistake was, and I kind of found a way around that. For now, let me change the name, just write Flutter blog. Okay, good. Now, let us see how our firebase is now. For now, good, no problem. So what we can do is the following. Let's go to our add post on post service, and in here we'll require a variable map called post, and let's just give this a final, and then we will need to initialize this on our constructor. Done. And just delete this post. Instead of giving that as an argument, we are going to pass the post directly in here. Done. And what else do we need now? Let's go back to our add post in here. Let's delete this because we don't need that. And on our post service, we are going to define that variable in here. And of course, for the post service, we need a new post, or we can just write post service. And we're going to give the post in here. Post dot to map, to make sure that we are passing a map inside of this. So I guess that everything that I had to change was changed. Sorry, here we will give empty fields. Okay, let us run the app again. Hit edit, and I'll write right here fun, and then we'll write today I had fun with my friends. Add. Okay, now let's go to our database. Let's reload and see if we have any change. Okay, nothing did change. So what's the way around? Because sometimes these problems are related to the emulator. What I'm going to do is try to run that on my real device, and we'll see what's going to happen. So I just connected to my real device. Let's go back to the app. Okay, and what I'm going to do is run that on my real device. One second. Let's try to run that on my real device. Ooh. Okay, let's stop the app first of all, and I will now run that on my real device. And what we want to have and to see is the behavior of the app regarding the database. Okay, so here we have the feedback. Wow, we do have a lot of things going on here. Okay, the app is up and running on my real device now. So let's try to add a post and see how is that going to behave on our database. Okay, and the advantage of using a real device is that we can see the error. The method push was called null. So let us go here. You don't even have to put this. And let us go back here on this method. Put it on full screen. Okay. Just a second. Add post. this is not what we want. Post service is what we want. So let us take our, okay, is the way this is defined over here, because the database reference was not defined. So what we have to do is come here and just put database reference is equal to this. Database reference is equal to database reference, and leaving that. Run the app again on a real device just to test it. Okay, and let's check the logs. The app is up and running on a real device. I'll just again type something. Today I had fun. Okay, so let's go to our database to see if that will reflect. And as you can see, we have it here, posts. And this is what I wrote from my device. Today I had fun is the body and fun is the title. Okay, now let's run that on the emulator. Now I'll disconnect from my real device. Sometimes you just have to run from, it's very handy if you can run the code on your real device, because somehow it's easier to do the troubleshooting. Now I'll run this from the emulator, and what we're doing here is we have the reference to the database. Here we have the child, which is posts, and if this child doesn't exist, we're going to create a new one with this name. And what we're doing, we're creating a push. What's the difference here? I can just do set, but if I do set, I'm not going to get that ID. If you see, this post by default has this particular singular ID. So that's the use of push. So we do a push and we set the values of posts are the same values that we have in here: the body, the date, and fun. Okay, so let's try to do the work using the emulator to see if everything will work fine, or we just have to use a real device. Games. I do like to play games when I am free. Add post, and that's the beautiful thing about the real-time database, because we just have a new post here on real-time, and if you open it, I do like to play games when I'm free. Let's add a couple more. Food. I cannot handle spicy food, but I do eat it sometimes. And we have the updates here on our database. Okay, so this is great, and if you are having a hard time kind of understanding everything that's going on, you can take a break and review some parts of the video and this and that, because that's super important. Anyhow, I'll have the source code of this on a GitHub, and you can use this as the template for your apps as well. So we can add a couple more. What else can I use? Family. Oops, and it's kind of slow right now. I have small. Oops. And I'm just putting some placeholders here or anything dummy text, so because we want to retrieve this afterward. Family, and I love them all. And if you hit add, wait a second. Oh, here you have it. You have to do nothing. Okay, so being able to do this is amazing, and don't worry about this. Okay, a small recap of what's going on here, and I'm sorry if I sound repetitive, but I like to know that every single one of you guys is understanding what's going on. So let me close all of these apps because I do have a lot of them open now. Okay, let's try to kind of open one at a time. We have the main. The only goal of this will be to retrieve and to display the posts. We have the add post, and in here we're making use of a form. Okay, on saved we are going to assign the value, the title, the post title to the value, and the post value to that value. And another thing we can do for the title is to make sure that, or we can do else if, let's suppose the value of the title length is greater than 16, for example, and say return title can't, and it has to be can't boom 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 boom, whatever, cannot have more than 16 characters. So make sure that the title is not going to be super big. So here when you hit the float action button, we are going to insert post, and first of all we want to make sure that the form is valid, and then we save the post, we reset post date, we are taking the current date of the device, and then from that what we're doing is to add that post. Okay guys, if you made it this far, I hope you did learn a lot. But of course this is not over, because we still want to retrieve we still want to retrieve the data from the database, and we also want to let's go back here, edit that. But for now, let's just make sure we can retrieve the post from the database, and then the edit and everything else is going to come afterwards. What can we do here? First of all is to let me okay, let's create something down here, and instead of a column, can we use a flex or list? No, I'll just use a column, and I'll make sure that the column is flexible, and for the child we are going to use something called what is the name of this? Firebase firebase animated list, and probably we have to include that package. So let's just create a new tab. Yahoo! No. And let's create a new tab. 1 second. Let me put my device in place. Okay. Let's create a new tab. Firebase animated list Flutter. We can to find this package. We can just do Flutter Fire. And here we want firebase. 1 second.